Hi, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this in Unreal Engine 5. So let's get started. So some prerequisites to the project here and the subjects that we'll be covering throughout. If you don't meet the prerequisite, I would do it anyway and just get in over your head. That's me. But if you have an interest in any of these, I would stick around because we're going to have lots of fun. Also, this is part 2. It deals with getting Unreal Engine ready, importing the geometry, and then going through to rendering it out. The geometry that I used for this project was produced in Blender using GeoNodes. If you already have that geometry and are ready to bring it into Unreal Engine, then you are in the right place. If you want to learn to make the geometry, go to part 1. If you're a veteran and you know what you're doing, you can skip the prerequisite section. But for those of you who might be new or intermediate, I'm gonna go through these steps from downloading, setting a new project, and making sure you have all the right plugins enabled that are going to make us get the effects that we're looking for. All right, you will need 2 downloads. You will need the latest version of Unreal Engine, and you will need the Content Examples project from Epic. Go to Unreal, or just Google Unreal Engine. We're going to go to download. It's going to lead you through the 3 steps. Download the launcher. So as soon as we get the Epic launcher installed, we're going to open the Epic launcher. We're going to go to the Library tab. Here you're going to see engine versions. So you're going to click plus, and you're going to go to the little drop down and do the latest version. Mine, as of this recording, it's 5.6. Just do whichever one is the latest. You're going to go to the same Unreal Engine site. You're going to come over here to Fab, make whatever accounts you need to, and then you're going to go to Content Examples. It'll be Epic Games, it'll be free. Okay, you're going to go to Add to My Library. So once it's added into your library, you're going to go back into the Epic launcher, and you're going to scroll down here, and it's going to be in your Fab library. So in this little thing, you're going to do Content, C-O-N, and Content Examples, there it is. Or you're going to go Create Project, and you're going to do the engine version, latest version. It has to be 5.6 or later. Then it's going to download. It's about 20 gigs. So it might take a bit. All right, you've got Unreal Engine and you've got the content examples. We're going to create the project now. You're going to go to the version 5.6. It'll launch it. It's going to bring up a window like this. This could take a bit. All right, once it opens, you're going to go to Games. You're going to create a play project. Wherever you put it is up to you. Whatever you want to call the name is up to you. I called mine Emergent Tutorial. I'm going to cancel because I've already made it. It is right there. So let's open that project. All right, so let's go to Edit Project Settings. Gonna come up here to Substrate. We want that one. Yep, got it. That's just a warning that's saying this isn't ready for shipping yet. Are you good with that? Yep. So this one is just for debugging, which we're not gonna do. So you don't have to enable that one. This one at the bottom, that's for backwards compatibility stuff. We're not gonna need that either. Okay, next. We're not done in the settings yet. Go to Hardware Ray Tracing. Support hardware ray tracing. Make sure that's checked. Generate ray tracing spices. Make sure that's checked. And then go to Default Bar Age and make sure that that is DirectX 12. All right, and very last, we're gonna go out of project settings and we're gonna go to Edit Plugins. And we're gonna do the Blender Q right there. That's the last setting that we're going to need to change for this. So you can restart now. All right, so we are done with the prerequisites. This is what's next. And the most complicated part of this is going to be the test materials. But I'll be explaining some of the concepts as we go. But if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. Just follow along and eventually it'll click. All right, so come down here to the content drawer. Going to come to content. Add feature or content pack, and we're gonna do starter content, add to project. It's gonna download and add it. So that starter content that's where it went. This is the stuff we just downloaded. And this comes with things like different maps we'll look at in just a second, and different assets you can use. But pretty much why we downloaded this was for a few assets that we're gonna use, and also this is just a good layout of how projects should be organized. For our project, we're not going to have enough assets to do full-on folders, but most projects will. So this is a good idea of how to organize that. But what we're going to do So we're going to go to content, we're going to go to new folder, emergent, and that's where we're going to put all of our stuff, including our maps. And while we're here, go to, this is just a right click, by the way, right click, level. I'm going to do gent studio. Okay, there we go. All right, now that we've created our top folder and the map, let's click on the map we just created. And you're going to see it's black. Not to worry, that's the way it's supposed to be. Come down here to content drawer. We're going to go to all and search all for sky sphere. And you're going to see something that says static mesh sm_sky sphere. You're going to take this, you're going to drag it to the emergent folder, and we're going to copy here. You're like, where did this asset come from? That's in the starter content stuff that we downloaded. So, or it's in the engine folder, one of the two. Anyway, so we are now in, so we have a map and we have a sky sphere. Go ahead and drag this sky sphere into here, and you'll see we're looking at something, so there's something in our world now, but notice these numbers here, we want those all to be 0. Just to, for most assets, it's good to just keep them at 0, 0, 0. Especially when you're dealing with just setting your stage kind of thing. And next, we're going to put in a plane, and again, we're going to do 0, 0, 0. We're going to hit the F key so that we focus on that. Okay, and we're also going to add a light called a skylight. Just drag that in. Okay, I'm going to put that at 0, 0, 0, and that is good. All right, so we got our lights. Now we need a camera. We're going to go to perspective, this little thingy up here. We're going to do create camera, cine camera actor. It's going to stick a little box here. You'll notice this little pinning thingy. Just go ahead and click that. That's just going to keep that camera right there. And we're always going to see from that camera's perspective, no matter where we move. So it's really nice. And that camera is going to be what we see when it's rendered, kind of a thing. So, and now we'll add a sequence. Add level sequence. We're going to stick that right here, and we're going to do gent. Okay, you'll see our sequencer fills up. We won't need that for a hot minute, but there it is. So we have our sky sphere, our sequence, and our map. So before moving on, we're going to hop over to one of the pre-made levels that we downloaded in the starter content pack earlier. We're going to go to maps, and we're going to go to advanced lighting. We're going to save selected, and this object is what we want. This is kind of like a standard, like in orchestra, there's the violinist that all the other violins tune their violins to. That's kind of what this is. It's just the matte finish. It's got neutral colors and various values. This is going to help us nail our lighting. So we're going to go to here, placeholder mesh, and we're going to come down to the details and click this little folder thingamajig. Okay. And now we are going to drag this into, you can do it, drag this into emergent, and we're going to copy it. And now it should be in our, there it is. So now we'll hop back over to our map, save selected, and drag this in. Gonna do, make sure it's at 0, 0, 0, and we're gonna F. And as you can see, like it gives us some basic, I'll drag this up. It gives us some basic like reflections. It's giving us just an idea of where the standard is as far as how bright the lights are currently and that kind of thing. All right. Okay, we're going to add one more thing here. We're going to add a sphere, and it will become clear why in a moment. So we're just going to, okay, cool. Click on that sphere in the background. You're going to see it pull this material, okay? Let's click on the folder. This is that material. What we're going to do is we are going to right-click it, create material instance. Okay, we're gonna name this MI Signal Sky Master. Okay, we're gonna drag this over to emergent and move it because we're moving a copy. So real quick on material instances. This is what a parent material looks like. It's a node network that's a list of instructions of what to render across the surface of an object. An instance is like, here we'll go over to the instance. It's like a little baby that's just looking to its parent to know what it needs to be. pretty much. So the horizon color and zenith color options you see in here, this baby material can only have those options because its parent material grants it those options. So you'll see zenith color and horizon color. And as long as they are parameters, see if I convert this to a constant to apply that option disappears. So if in a node network inside the material, this is like the DNA, right, of the material, you've got it converted to a parameter, and then that will tell I don't know how to spell zenith, don't laugh at me. So apply that, now it's back. Gonna save it. So I just kind of freaked out Unreal Engine when I changed that parameter. If you ever break something after changing it and it's just acting funny, what you can do is go to Asset Actions, Reload, and it will just click yes to the thing that pops up and it will fix it. All right, so let's go back to our emergent folder. We've got a MI procedural sky master. That's the little baby material that we're going to want to mess with because it has the parameters in a way that are easier for us to use. And so we're going to open that up and we're going to just change those parameters. You'll notice that nothing is really changing. This is a gotcha that gets me still. But the reason why is because what's on this material, this object, is not the material instance, it's the parent material. So we're going to go to this, and we're just going to drag it on. Boop. Okay, now we can adjust this, and it will work. Something that Unreal does by default is it will adjust the exposure of the camera. For our cases, we want to micromanage our lighting a little bit, so I'm going to show you something. I want you to just take these colors all the way to white, okay? And then come over here to place actors and type in post-process volume. Okay, we're gonna drag this in. There's a few ways to do this, but just do it this way. Like, you can come here and you can turn off the exposure gain settings, but don't do it that way because it's a little bit unpredictable as to, you know, what it's gonna do when it actually renders and blah, 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 blah. So just do the post-process volume, type in infinite, and we want this. Infinite extent unbound, turn that on. And then we want exposure metering mode, we want manual. Exposure compensation, we want 0 for now. Alright, so you'll notice we're back to black. In order to fix that, we're going to go to the skylight here. Then we're going to go to a specified cube map for now, just so you can kind of see what's happening. Turn the intensity scale all the way up. And you'll notice that it's kind of dark here in the back. Almost like light is trying to get through, and that's exactly what's happening. It just can't. So go to this sky sphere is blocking it. You'll notice if we turn it off, stuff lights up. So we're going to go to the sky sphere and we're going to just make it bigger so that it can encapsulate that light. And now you'll see we can control the intensity scale. It goes from 0, and the way we have it set up via the post-process volume right now is the skylight, which is usually pretty aggressive if you don't set things up appropriately. The intensity up here will just be way too blown out. And this is right where it's supposed to be, where the most intense light is just almost blown out. It just starts to get blown out, and that's good. That's what we want. Black, almost white. Perfect. And now that we've got this all tested out, we're going to go back to the captured scene. And now it's just going to capture whatever the color is of our sky sphere. So we can go to our little material baby here, our instance, and we can just change that color like we did before. So maybe do a little bit like that. Good. And maybe do that. Click OK. Okay. You'll have to do a recapture, and then it will recapture the skylight. So let's turn up the intensity here. Recapture, yeah. And then if we turn this to blue, and then we go here and we recapture, you're going to see that that color is affected. So let's turn down the intensity scale so you can see that gradient. That gradient that's going from purple or red at the bottom to blue at the top. And that's... So we can kind of... our scene is now behaving in an appropriate and predictable manner. Alright, so next, let's turn this back to white. for now. White. Okay. Then we'll go to our skylight. Recapture. Alright, we're back to our neutral. Skylights. Intensity. As pretty mid. Cool. We're gonna make some glass. So go to content. You guys see this glass. M glass. Okay. Drag that into Emergent. Copy it. There's our glass. Let's make an instance. Create a material instance. We're going to call this material instance glass. Okay, we're going to put this right on that sphere. Then we're going to go into the parent material here. You change a couple of settings. We're going to... Do you see this refraction? Go ahead and drag this right there. We're going to cut out all of the Fresnel stuff for now. Go ahead and apply that. And then click on the mGlass output node. Let's see, we're going to turn on... If this is not turned on, make sure that's turned on. Turn on two-sided. Surface forward shading. All right, and save that. Yeah, looks pretty good. We can change our refraction here. Sweet. But you'll kind of notice it's not doing a fantastic refraction job. So what we need to do is go over to our post-process volume, and let's drag this here so we can see really well what it's doing. Go to our post-process volume, type in translucency. Translucency method should be ray traced. Figure that out. And then missing. So we want use ray trace refraction. Check that. And then it should look a lot more like it's reflecting glass here. So let's, in the actual glass material instance, we're going to reduce. I'm going to do like 1.4, which is its basic, and that should look a lot closer to an actual glass material. So after messing around with the settings for a second, for your glass instance, do a refraction of about 3. And that should reverse the image and also just kind of give it a nice warp. You'll notice that there's a lot of black. That's coming from the skylight. So this lower hemisphere is solid color. Turn that off, and then that blackness will be gone. All right, we've set up our scene. We have glass working via this post-process volume. We have our skylight, which will let us set the ambient level of light in the scene, which is also very important. We have our base plane, which we can actually, that should be set to something very, very large. So that should just kind of stretch onto the horizon there. You may or may not want to use it in the final pass. The actual glass, it doesn't, don't perfect anything right now. We're just making sure that the post-process volume is set up the way that it's supposed to be, because that's going to be handling a lot of our refractions. So we've got our color calibrator, which we're not going to use. We're just making sure that that's good. And we've got our background. So this we can do static mesh background, because technically that's how we're using it for. We're not really using it as a sky sphere. And then this is our refraction test, which is working. And this is our floor. Back into the color calibrator. So yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to. And we are now ready to import our geometry. All right, we're going to import some assets. We're going to get our FBX files that we pushed out of Blender. And we're also going to migrate an opal shader from the content examples that Epic released. And we'll be able to dissect that asset and see how it works. And that's a good, just general practice. Epic releases a lot of assets that you can dive into to see best practices. There's a lot of self-learning that can happen from that. So I'll show you how to do that. And yeah, let's get started importing these assets. So inside of your project directory for your Unreal Engine project, wherever you put it, I like to add manually a folder called external. You can do this however you want. I just like having my project all in the same folder so I can easily zip it up when I am not using it. You can see the Premiere project that I'm using to make this tutorial is in here. All the tutorial assets like slides and stuff is in there. And then for the actual Unreal Engine, these are the assets we're going to be importing. All right, so I've got my Unreal project on the right and the assets that I'm going to import here on the left. Going to go to Content Drawer, open that up, drag these in. It's going to bring this up, and there's a setting here that always causes me trouble. I'm going to do build nanite. uncheck that, because if you don't, it's going to bring in your geometry weird. It's going to import those all. All right, now that those are all imported, minimize this, make that bigger, and these should be named better. So there's a standard naming convention inside Unreal Engine. Anything that's a mesh should have this SM at the beginning of it. So we're going to do S underscore. And since we don't want to do that each time, select all the objects you want to rename, go to batch rename, and add prefix SM underscore, and it will do it. Apply. Okay, now all of those are SM underscore. We've got some stragglers here, so we're going to batch rename. We're going to remove tool and S underscore apply. Gonna get rid of these materials that came in because we don't need them. So now all of our static meshes should all be the same thing. And because I'm a really big stickler about naming conventions, all of these that look different, I'm gonna bring those right in. Some of these came from the same file. That's why there's more than 12, the original 12 that we imported. So I'm just gonna take each and every one of them and make sure that it says SM underscore Mandala underscore file and then a number. All right, there. Got 1 through, looks like there's about 15 of them. Okay, we're gonna delete this, parse delete, see, and we're gonna just, while we're doing this, while we're in this mode, we're just gonna give all of these their appropriate. So we got material, material instance, sequence, static mesh, all the way to static mesh. So now you can just see it just looks cleaner. And another thing this allows you to do is it allows you to type in M underscore and all of your materials. Okay. Yeah, all of your materials pop up first. Then you can do material instance and you get all your material instances. You can do your static mesh. It'll get all your static meshes. And you can do that here, but it's kind of just easier to just type it and just get your stuff. But yeah, that's when things are appropriately named, you can find your stuff a lot faster. And the faster you can do things and the less you have to wrestle with your interface, the more you can actually wrestle with the creative problem that you're facing at any given time. All right, so back in our Epic launcher, if you haven't already, create the content examples project. You want to create it in 5.6. Since I've already created it, I'm not going to create it again. Once it's created, it'll be right here. Open that up by double clicking and it'll open up that project. All right, now that the content examples is open, let's go to edit, project settings. I'm gonna type in substrate. These might not be checked. If they are not checked, check them and then it will prompt you to restart. All right, let's go to the content drawer, open that up, come down here to maps and material, come over here to material substrate and open that level. We'll just wait for these to load. You'll notice that there's this shader thing down here at the bottom that's loading the shaders. Yeah, so it might take a bit. Alrighty, these are all loaded. Let's find our opal shader. There it is. I'm gonna grab that and notice that we can click on it. We can navigate to the actual shader there, and we're gonna right click, asset actions, and migrate. It's going to select all of the dependencies, so all of the textures and all of the material functions, all of that stuff that this shader is using. It's going to grab it so that it will work wherever we put it. So click OK, and then we go to the project that you set. You're going to have to put it in the content folder. Don't try and organize anything else. It needs to go into a content folder or it won't work properly. It's going to migrate those. And now, if we go to our emergent project, we can go to example content, substrate, materials, and there it is. We're going to take this and we're going to move it to our emergent folder. There it is. All right, last step for this section before we get into materials a little bit deeper. We are going to take all of these, make sure that they are 000, because I like stuff to just be right where I want it to be. And then we're going to go to our content drawer. We're going to grab all of these and we are going to slap them in our level. Bam. We're going to put them in one folder. 16. Perfect. And we're just going to zoom out there. right. And just gonna enter 0. Really just make sure that those are things that they're supposed to be. Okay, we are now ready to apply materials and start getting this party going. So these are the 3 main shaders we're gonna go over. The background shader is just a basic flat emissive, and the opal shader we're gonna go over how to adjust parameters there, and the glass shader. You can do, like we did with the opal shader, you can go to the content examples project and pull in other shaders you think would be interesting, but I'm just gonna cover how to do that with the opal shader. Alright, so first up, we're going to select this substrate shader ball opal, and we're gonna make an instance, create material instance. And we're gonna do underscore, then down opal. Okay. So take this, select it, and then go to, just select all of these and scroll down to material display 2 material elements. And when you hit this area, it says use selected asset from content browser. Yep, we're just gonna slap this material on all of these guys. Okay. So you'll notice that that opal material has been applied to all of the different pieces. We can kind of start to see the effect that we're going for happening there. I'm going to show you a secret now. You may or may not already know this, but our eyeballs have 2 different kinds of cones in them. One is used for value and the other is used for actual color. And it is a well-known trick inside of watercolor that if you get the values right, you can pretty much use whatever color you want. So what I just did is I went into the post-process volume and I searched for saturation. And in the color grading section, you're gonna see global, saturation, check that, and reduce the saturation all the way to 0. And what that's gonna do is that's going to temporarily give us the ability to focus just on the values of our scene. And the values is just how light and dark things are. And usually, if you can get the values correct, your stuff is going to look good. There's always exceptions to the rule, but if we turn that up while we're adjusting for the values, it will let us really get our composition right before we start really polishing things like color. In a digital workflow, color is a last step, whereas in more classical mediums like painting, you had to juggle all of those things at once. In digital, it allows us to just focus on one level at a time. So you don't have to. I would recommend turning that all the way down to 0 so that we can just focus on the values of the scene. All right, so I noticed that the background shader that I'm using, the MIBG, is going to a parent material called M Procedural Sky Master 2, which is pretty complicated. If we open it, there's, it's doing some stuff. It's actually doing more than we need. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just make a very basic material to show you. BG. No, that's too close to the other one. You got to be really clean with your names. Material, flat color. Okay, gonna open that. What I'm gonna do is do a vector. So what I did is I just held down the 3 key and clicked, and that'll make it so you can lay down a vector. We're gonna convert that to a parameter. We're gonna do base color, and we're gonna do 3 of these. We're gonna parameterize and I just held down the 1 number key and let me lay down a integer, which is just a number. So we're gonna do roughness. We're gonna do metallic, and I think that may be it actually, because metallic and roughness are kind of all we need. I'm gonna set this as a value of 0.5. It's just halfway between extremes, and I'm gonna apply that. And now we're gonna go to, so the M matte color floor, we're gonna create a baby, and I'm just gonna call this floor, and I'm going to select the floor and I'm going to apply it. It's going to be black. And we're going to open up that baby and start to adjust the thing. And you'll notice that we can adjust the roughness. It's not actually changing the color. You'll notice here, it's changing the reflectivity. Okay. So if we actually wanted to change the color, we got to go to the base color and change that. But we're kind of adjusting for value right now. So I kind of want the way that the example that I showed you at the beginning of this tutorial series is is it's a darker background on that has a whiter or clearer mandala on it. So that's where we go to MI Mandala Opal. We open it up, and this is black. Traditionally, the stock shader is black as Epic gives it to us. But if we go to the global vector parameter values and we increase them, we can really get a whiter thing. And let's see here. Emissive intensity in the light. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So as you'll notice, you can just look at this right here. You kind of want to just look at this to get an idea of what this shader is going to look like. And the things that are really going to make this pop are the emissive light intensity, making sure that the colors are correct. And, well, for now it's just values, but we'll get to colors in a minute. But yeah, you can go through all of these. Tile is another one, and tile size. That's what's really gonna, the tile size and the tile are really what's gonna make this look like diamond or something like holy. So it looks like that, and we'll go in and we'll adjust the colors after. But this is kind of, and as you can see, the values are really more popping now than they were before. And we can adjust shadows, probably not, probably want to keep that there. We can look at the normal intensity and really just go through and adjust these. Specular intensity, it's really, what I found as I was messing with these is it's really the tile and the tile fall off that do, or sorry, the tile and the emissive light that do the most. Fake spec light, let's turn that. Oh, yeah. So yeah, just go ahead and play with these until you get something. And you can look at this, and this is a nice preview of what we can expect. And then if you want to see just a glimpse of what this is going to look like in color, go to the post-process volume, type in saturation, and just turn that up to where it was at 1. And you can see what this is going to look like. We've got it white, it's looking holy, and we'll continue to adjust that more. And you can actually kind of see that this glass actually looks more like glass now. It has more to reflect, but yeah, that is more the effect that we are going for. And yeah, it's coming along. So after messing around with some settings for a little bit, this is kind of what I've rested at for now. This is, I just changed emissive intensity light, a fake spec power light, tile and tile size, and I changed the color from black to white. So those are what I'm using to get the result you're seeing right now. Okay, I have decided I'm going to do a quick color pass for you, just so you guys can kind of get the trial and error process that I went through. So I've pretty much, this procedural master, I've taken out. It's too complicated for what we're using. And I'm just doing this flat color _ floor. This should actually not say floor, because this is just a flat color, and then this is going to be MI floor. I'm going to apply that to the floor and this background, and then let's do, there it is. Okay, so as we change colors, it's important to come over here to the skylight and recapture. Otherwise, it's not going to be the full thing. It's a little too saturated for my liking, so I'm going to desaturate it right there. Recapture. Okay. That's pretty good. I like that. Also, try without the floor, just to see. Let's make that a little darker. Okay, and let's go to the skylight recapture. So, yeah. That's pretty good. I would just desaturate it a little more. A little more desaturated. I think that's really going to make the color and the front stuff sing a lot better. Recapture that. A little too saturated. But see, this is why this is a perfect example of why you don't fidget with stuff too much, because you're gonna get stuck fidgeting with stuff that you're probably gonna change later. So I think that is a good, decent first color pass. I'm going to call that good. We've got a monochromatic purple with splashes of complementary color scheme going on here. So we're going to call that good. I'm not going to stop myself from fidgeting with this too much, and I am going to reduce the saturation. And you'll note that this still holds up. It still holds up without color. And That's telling. Also, there was a directional light in here. I took it out, so we're just dealing with a flat background color. And yeah, that's how we're gonna keep that for now. Okay, next we're gonna do glass. Let's test it on these. But before we do that, we're gonna move these up and in so that we can get a better refraction. Cool. And the other glass shader, I tested it. It's being weird. This is not what we want. So I'm going to show you how to build your own. We're going to go to material. We're going to call this Mandala glass. Just going to pop in there, this here, and we're going to do just a couple quick things. We're going to do a vector. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. We're going to convert to parameter. This first parameter is going to be EX. That's going to be our emissive multiplier. The next one is going to be our metallic value. The next one is going to be our roughness value. The next one is going to be our alpha or opacity override. And the last one is going to be our index of refraction. Go ahead and click on this or the background. We're going to go to, it's default lit, translucency, gray transmittance, two-sided. We're going to go with surface forward shading. And we also have one down here, refraction method, index of refraction. Okay, also we need a multiply node here. So you're going to want to hold down the M as in Mike key and click. That'll give you a multiply. We're going to do this, and we're going to do 1. That's going to mean that this is just going to be a color unless we boost the emissive. We do want this to have emissive. And actually, I think this might actually need to be 0. We'll play with that. Metallic is here. Roughness is here. Opacity override is there. Index of refraction is there. I'm going to do this to about 1.3. And the rest of these, we're just going to do 8.5. Save that. Okay, let's try that. Mandala glass. We're going to create this instance. And we're going to apply this right there. Okay, now let's open up the instance and mess with the settings. We want the alpha to be pretty clear, the index of refraction, but we want the roughness to be pretty. Say, this is driving me nuts. Why is it? Why is it like gray? Why is it like gray? So after messing around with this for way too long, I figured out it's the skylight. There's other ways to fix this, like we can do a real-time capture, but then we would have to adjust some other stuff, so we're not going to do it that way right now. But we're going to go down to lower hemisphere solid color and check that. Now we're getting the color that it should be. Now we can go to our instance and we can, with an alpha of 0.5, which would probably be more like 0.12. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be getting. So that lower hemisphere, we might be able to fix that later with ray tracing settings, but we're not going to mess with it right now. So we're going to do this about 2, and EX should be 1. And actually, let's go in and fix the default value. This should be 1, not 0. So we're going to apply that. All right. And that's looking like a glass. So that should be good. You can make it blurry. That might be kind of cool for some effects. We might be able to clean up the noise and export, but we'll see. So that's our glass. We really should be able to see all the different edges of the glass. Similar to how the opal shader is working, you can see all the edges. So that's what we want for our glass. So let's come over here, and we're going to do a camera vector. Oh, how are you? Camera vector world space. We're gonna do vertex normal world space, and the camera vector is just, imagine like a laser coming out of the camera. That's what that is. Vertex normal world space. I think that's actually on the geometry. I'm actually not sure about that one, but we're gonna do dot product, put that in, and then we're gonna do, so this should be black and white, previewing that. Okay, yep. So now we're gonna do a However, because something that happens with glass is there's a surface and an interior, and we're gonna make there's a surface and an interior. So that's kind of what we're getting with this. It doesn't matter where we turn this. There's always going to be a surface and looking inside. It'll make. I'm about to make it more apparent here. Let's turn this to 5 and start previewing. So you see, it's like we're looking into this globe. I'm going to turn this back to 5, and we're going to do a warp. It's linear interpolate. Putting in. I'm going to slant this in here. Let's see. No, we actually want this to be alpha because this is what we're going to use to mask between the two. So we want the EX to be in the multiply. That's all good. We want this to go here. We want that to go there and there. What this is going to end up making is like a glowing glass, so we can manually fake light hitting the different sides of this thing, which I'll show you in a second. So I think that'll do it. This, I want the parameter to just be named color here, and we're gonna apply on that. All right, so let's just make sure that the material we were just editing was Mandala glass. That's where we added our camera vector, and let's open up, or let's make sure that its material instance is the one that's actually applied. We're gonna reduce the roughness. Yep, this is the correct one. Okay, and now this is black. We're going to increase the EX, and we're going to decrease the power. Okay, and what you'll notice is happening here, I'll show you the preview here. It's just, it's emitting its own light now. So we don't have to rely and make, we don't have to put lights in the scene and put them at perfect angles and stuff. We can kind of just fake it with this. And I was messing around with this a little bit more, and we're going to change the Mandala glass a little bit more to give us some more granular control here. So this, here, I'll undo it for you and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this is just color. This is just color. So we're going to plug this. So the color is in A, one is B, this is the alpha. That's got all of our camera vector stuff. That's just going to go in base color. But for our emissive channel, we're going to want to do this into multiply, and then the multiply goes into emissive color. Okay, that's the correct setup. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that we can control how bright and emissive the surface of the glass is, and we can also control how it spreads across the surface as well. So it just gives us a little more control here. And I'm just going to put it here. And you can see now we're getting how glass actually behaves. It does have a surface to it, and we can more easily see the different sides. And if there's an angle that we're going to be viewing it from that we can't see as much as we would like, decrease this and get that going. And there. Now we can see the edges of that glass, and it's behaving more like glass. All right, one more thing to add to our glass shader. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through it. So essentially what I noticed is I wanted more control over how this spread across my glass. So I'm going to apply this and I'll show you. While this is nice, while I can get the edges, I really wanted to be able to, decide to light up the center rather than the edges. So I wanted to be able to invert it, and that's why I added this 1 minus node. If you right click, you're going to do 1 minus. This is essentially just inverting the values. So if I apply that, you'll notice if I then go to the instance, the center is highlighted rather than the edges. So it just gives you yet another way to art direct your materials. The more you can art direct your materials, the more you're going to be able to get exactly what you're looking for. And telling the computer what to do rather than letting it tell you what to do is really the name of the game. And it makes the difference between professional work and amateur work. So I want to be able to switch on the fly, and that's what this is. So I'm going to delete this and make a new one. We're going to do a switch, static switch parameter. I'm going to name this parameter glint inverse, or glint inv, and if this is true, it's going to invert it. So I want to include that in this path. And if it's false, I want it to just take the base camera vector value. So we're going to apply that. We're going to go to our Mandala glass shader. We're going to save that just to make sure it updates correctly. And here you'll see our glint inverse value. We're going to check that on. Okay, we'll see it's working. If we don't want it inverted and we want to see the edges more clearly, we're going to just light that. So yeah, that's going to give us more control. And that's a good segue into our lighting. In Unreal Engine and with a lot of real-time rendering, and actually with all rendering packages really, you really do have to fake things to get exactly the effect you want. So sometimes you do have to fake lighting in your materials instead of just relying on what the computer just tells you it's supposed to look like. So that's a good segue into our lighting. So let's get into our lights. All right, we're getting into lighting. It's important to note, we've already done a ton of the work that goes into lighting, which means now we get to do the fun part of lighting, which is actually adding lights. Now's a good time to assess your own project and just note that the goal of this tutorial was not for you to just make one that looks exactly like mine. Copying is fine, it's good, but stealing is better, so I would invite you to steal and make it your own. And if yours looks exactly like mine, I would suggest that maybe you haven't gotten everything out of this tutorial that you could have. So maybe look at that. All that we've got left to do is lighting, animation, and camera work. And then after that, we just export. So here we go. Lighting. Okay, so our lighting pass is going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to show you some pointers here. We're going to turn our post-process volume saturate. We're desaturating it right now. I actually want to see color now. I want to see what this scene is doing. And the skylight, I'm going to turn to red because I want to see everything that the skylight is lighting up. And this point light that I just added, I'm going to turn that green because I want to see everything that that point light is doing. I'm going to turn the lighting on the point light to exposure value. I'm going to increase the exposure value. I'm going to drag it up. I'm going to increase the attenuation radius. Now I can see everything that that light is doing. I can see that it's overpowering the other lights. I'm going to reduce that. Okay. Another thing that this light can do is we can soften those shadows that are underneath. You see they just got blurry. We can move that floor closer, about right there. We've made the colors of our lights so dramatic so that we can easily see their influence. So let's try this skylight. Let's bump up this skylight a little bit and just see what that does. Okay. And we're going to reduce this point light just a tad bit. And just so you're aware, I keep changing this up, but I made it so that instead of just a 1-0 value, this is what it looked like before. This is in Mandala glass. Instead of just having that 1, I plugged in another vector value so that we can decide what, because this is just white. That's what 1 is. It's just white. 0 is black. And if we just plug in that value, then we can pick what color glints across the surface. So I'm going to apply that. And yeah, that. Let's make it, yeah, that looks kind of cool. So yeah, that's pretty good. So we're getting some good color variation. Now we can make these a little less dramatic. So I kind of want this to be a soft, warm, like that. And I'm going to make the skylight a cool color. A nice, cool, okay on that. And we're going to recapture just to make sure that we saved. Okay, so I kind of like where this is at. I just want to reduce this point light a little more because it's blowing out all the color on the actual centerpiece. Yeah, let's see if we need to reduce the skylight intensity to get that centerpiece. Okay, so I want to get it to the point where those colors they're coming out of the crystal. Yeah, that's where I want it. But the background is too dark. So we're going to go to the floor material and we're going to brighten it up. We're essentially just changing the color of the floor to be white. And because it is still not quite white enough, okay, we're going to push this up. And this is just kind of part of the course. Just adjusting lights until you get the effect you want. So
that looks pretty good. I'm gonna reduce this a little bit just till we start getting saturation again, and then I'm gonna go to the skylight and increase it. Nope, that was too much. This skylights are just so finicky. You really have to capture. Yeah, skylights are just very, very temperamental. You gotta work with them until you get them just right. Then this floor we're gonna reduce, and this is kind of just how it goes. Just reducing, just making that pop, getting that to sing. It's so close to something truly spectacular. So we're gonna keep darker perhaps on the floor, but perhaps, okay, so we're going to reduce. I'm adjusting the color of the glint. It's so close to something that I just don't want to let it go. Okay, so here's where we're going to just try and force it through a color on the floor. I'm going to try and make it slightly warm. Yeah, yep. Increase that. Yeah, right about there. And let's see. So this point light, we've got that. Our skylight. For the lighting portion, the main things are to make the light colors extreme so you can see their influence and adjust the intensities as you need to. And then when you get it to colors you actually like, just playing with the intensity of both the materials of your objects and the lighting until you get something that you like. Generally, it's a good rule of thumb to make sure that nothing is too blown out so you can see all of the details of your object. But other than that, it really is up to your eye to get the value levels correct and to make sure you can see all the parts that you want your viewer to see and that you want to have emphasized. So with that, we'll move on to animation. So we're moving on to animation. We're gonna adjust the model a little bit to make it a little more appealing and a little more manageable. Then I'm gonna show you how to put objects on the timeline. We're gonna do the anticipation animation, which is that ring that comes in on the initial demo that I showed. We're gonna go over the curve editor, and then we're gonna go into copy and pasting your keys so that you can automate the animation process for the more repetitious animations. Alright, so for the adjustments of this, we are going to get rid of this, get rid of this. After I modeled these, I realized after I brought them in that I didn't like them. So we're going to get rid of those. We're going to get rid of pretty much all the square objects because this is really a petal motif. And we are going to keep it that way. So we've got this, and feel free to make this however you want with your geometry. Point is to get something that you like. It's kind of interesting. A circle inside of a triangle, and if it's snapping, it shouldn't be snapping. I don't want it to snap. Turn that off. And so the inner circle and this one. See if we do an inner circle, outer circle of the triangle kind of thing. Is that going to be cool? Yeah, we're now at the part of the project where you just get to play. You've done a ton of work getting the level set up, getting it exactly how you want and like. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, and then let's just click off that just to see. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to hide it so we don't see her. It's okay. Get rid of that. Usually if something isn't working, try getting rid of something rather than making it more complicated. It's just a general rule of thumb. Then I'm going to duplicate this and make it bigger like we did in the other one, in the demo piece. And then let's see. I'm going to duplicate that ring, reduce that, this, these petals a little bigger. I might want to get rid of this ring. Let's hide it and see if we like it. Let's see what happens when we make this ring a little bigger. Okay, and for these, they're a little dark. Oh, I also happen to know that there's geometry there that we can get rid of just on my model. So the glass is not doing it for me. I want something like glass to do something that it is not doing. What is it? Let's try adjusting the material to see if the index of refraction can change to something that we're happy with. Do we need to increase this? Make it a little less opaque. Do we need to adjust to... I despise that. Why do I hate that so much? So after all that effort on that glass shader, it could just be that we don't want that glint. We just want the refraction. It looks like the refraction isn't... Yeah, I don't like it when I see the light. It just dulls that glass so much. And I want to focus on that refraction. So can I get the refraction to a point where I can see all the edges? It looks like I can. I can reduce. So can I change the color? Can I change the color to bring a little more attention to that glass? No, I'm just going to leave it just like that. Okay. So we're pushing the refraction beyond what it naturally would be, but we're doing it so that we can get those edges right where they're supposed to be. Let's try another object with that glass. Mandala glass. Or ring. Try and make these the mandala glass. More things that we make glass. Usually if there's a rhythm, but it's just there's not enough behind there. Let's try these. No, those are going to stay opal, those are going to stay opal, and then, yep, that looks like it's going to be, we're going to duplicate this, make this small, okay, there we go. Then we're going to put them into the correct position here, so I want this to be here, I want this to be slightly above that. This ring, I actually don't want it to be glass, I want it to be opal. I want this to be slightly bigger, I want this to be slightly smaller, and this needs to be 0, that needs to be 0. Let's try this as glass. Okay, and then there is another. Seeds are, duplicate those. Let's see what happens when we move them out. I hate that, so we're just gonna delete. Let's try it smaller. Let's try deleting this ring and making it a ring instead. I hate that too. So when it gets to the point where the changes, you hate the changes you're making, just move on. So now that we have our model all good to go, we have it organized over here. I'm going to do Mandala, go to the content drawer, and we're going to open up our sequence, open this up in the level, and we're just going to add all these 11 actors. Actually, before we do that, let's name these. So we're going to call this outer ring. This one is outer ring seeds. And what I'm about to do here is I'm just going to parent. So this is now the parent of the seed. So anytime anything that happens to this will happen to this. And that's just so we don't have to animate as much. Inner ring. Looks like we've got a duplicate. So let's verify that. Yep, that's a duplicate, so we can delete that. And what is this? Those inner petals. Just go through this whole process till you get all of the pieces appropriately named. Now that those are all labeled, I'm going to go and just drag them into the timeline. We're just going to start animating. Alright, we are going to turn off all of these other pieces except for the outer ring. We're going to go to the outer ring, and at 0 we're going to create a keyframe on the transform, and we're going to go out to, we're going to need to give us more time and space here, so let's do like 500 here. Drag this out. We're just going to need to give ourselves a lot more time. Let's just see how fast this goes. Cool. That's about right. So we're going to actually go about right there. And then right here in the middle, we're going to do another transform. But now we're going to select our ring here. And we're just going to make it super duper small. And it should make a key because we selected this, the auto keyframe. Now we should see goes big to small, but we kind of want to adjust some of these. So we're going to use these arrows, go to part, and we really want this outer ring to be 0 at its smallest point. We don't want to be able to see it at all. So it should go all the way down to 0 and then all the way back out. And now we're going to go to the curve editor. This is the curve editor. Let's slap it over here for you. And we're going to select the outer ring transform scale. So you'll see that kind of slowly goes into it and then slowly comes out of it. And we want to alter that. We want this to be, we want it to feel like it's getting heavier. I want to break these and just I want to feel like it's kind of floating at first and then just gets heavy and then just collapses in on itself and then bounces back out again. So that's a lot. Yeah. And also something else we want to do is we kind of want this to be bigger. Like we want it to come in almost from off screen. Where'd it go? Outer ring. Scale. So let's try that. Yeah, that camera isn't really doing what we want it to do, so we'll have to readjust that in a minute. But yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see. It's just gonna. Yep, and we can polish that more, but as far as the first passive animation goes, that's pretty good. Got a bounce. I would like it to go a little like more rapid on the okay. You'll notice this line almost looks like a bouncing ball animation. Kind of adjust that so that it looks a little more, it kind of collapses in on itself and bounces back out. Yeah, that's kind of the effect we want. All right, now let's just go piece by piece, and we want to animate each one blooming as this circle opens. So we have this is referred to as an anticipation animation. So something's about to happen and then everything's going to bloom. So for this next one, we're going to go to the part where it's at 0, and we're going to set these petals as transform scale. That's the point where it has to come in. And we're going to go to the last frame, and we're going to set another one. And we're going to, let's go to the front. Set another one. So now at this scale, this has to be 0, and then it will go to, we'll also want to set this at 0, and then it will bloom out. So go through this. Okay, that seems a little slow. We kind of want, and that's where we're going to go in and adjust now the curve editor on this. The glass petal. Just put them all on the same thing here. I want the petal animation to be a little more rapid than that. So we just want it to just kind of jump. Yeah, but not quite fast. I just want there to be a little more space between the petals initially, and then there we go. So there we go. Now we're going to take these keyframes that we made for the petals, and we are going to copy and paste them to our other geometry. So we're going to go to innermost ring next, go to scale, and we're going to go first frame and hit this, see if it comes out. There it is. And we're going to go next, innermost seed, scale, go to first frame, next. Oh, we need to make sure that it's visible. Okay, so there it is. Next we're going to do inner petals, scale, go to first frame, and paste. Okay, there it is. There's the inner petals. Now we're going to do inner ring, scale. We're going to go to first, scale, paste, and there it is. And we're going to go to inner thorns, scale, paste. Make sure they're visible. There they are. Now we're going to go to large outer petal, scale, paste. So our large petals didn't materialize. Let's go there and, oh. Right, okay. So these need to be like 2, and actually these need to be much bigger because that was large outer ring. That we adjusted the size of that initially. So these need to be like pretty big. 6. Okay. Okay. So there's that. Our outer ring has its animations already. And last but not least, we have our triangle. So we're going to do first frame, scale, paste. Okay. So it looks like we've got, now that we've gotten our animations all okay. So now that we've got the initial bloom, what we want to do is kind of make it so these animations cascade. Instead of the whole flower coming out all at once, we can now adjust to make them come in a more cascaded fashion. So let's do that. Just watch this one more time. Ew, let's reverse whatever it is we just did. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now let's adjust it so we can get some more living, get it breathing and living a little more now that we have the initial blocked in animation done. Now you should be able to go in here, you should be able to go to any one of these characteristics that's being animated, such as scale, and you should be able to open up the editor and you should be able to drag it and adjust the different aspects. So rather than just go in and refine all of that, which honestly it takes a while, I'm just going to show you what I mean. So we've got the scale of this glass petal, right? It's coming in. And then we have the scale of this innermost ring, which I want this ring. So this inner ring, we're just going to offset that a little bit, and we're just going to make it come in a little later and just see what it does. Okay. So it kind of has a ripple effect there. Go to outer ring 2. I'm just going to drag that a little bit later. We're going to go to there. When we drag this out, it'll just take a little longer to get to its final position. Okay. So a lot of this is stopping all at once. Only a few pieces are moving. But the more pieces that seem to take a while to settle into their final position, so that's where that one stops. So if we just stretch that out a little bit further, yeah. Let's just see how that goes. Yeah, it's just playing with these keyframes until you get something that you like. Yeah, so that's a little extreme, so we're going to bring it back to about right there. And bring this to about, yeah, and just mess with these. Just mess with these until you get something you like. Alright, so after about 30 minutes of just tweaking values, such as rotation, scale, and those kinds of things, this is what I arrived at. I didn't keep everything that I recorded in the whole process, but just know that this is all accomplished by tweaking very simple things with a few animation principles in mind. The only things that I'm tweaking are scale and rotation. That's it. And I'm offsetting the keyframe so that not everything starts or ends all at the same time. Just so it kind of feels like it breathes a little bit. And that's really it. And then just observing from nature and life, just like these rotating petals here. They rotate and then they kind of recoil back. So you can kind of sense there's this sort of tension within it. And that's really it. I could upload a recording of every single thing that I tweaked, but that's really not going to help you because your geometry probably doesn't even look like this. And if we go to a different angle so you can see, depending on your setup and what geometry you have, it may be beneficial for you to even have these move along this z-axis. So you can also change location as well. So for example, I'll show you that here. If we want to do the triangle transform, we're going to go here it is, the triangle transform. I just did the wrong location here. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to go location, and Z, we actually want it to end at where it is, for the usual. And we want it to come in from higher. So I'll show you what's going to happen there. So as this comes in, we'll see this triangle descend and meet with the rest. Great job getting this far. We're just going to add a camera and animate it, make it a little snazzy, and then we're going to export. Alright, so let's go to our Cine Camera actor, drag it into our timeline. It's going to slap that on top there. And then we're going to pick two locations or two views that we want to slide between. So we're going to turn on our transform here. We're going to go to frame 0. We're going to delete the key that it just made. Go to frame 0. Add a key. So let's see, where do we want to? And right now we're driving the camera, as you can see from right here. Once we dragged it onto the timeline and have it selected on the timeline, we're going to look as if we're looking through the camera. So let's see, we want to go, I kind of want an angle kind of like this, kind of like that. And if we go, see, let's go back to 0. Kind of want it to be dead center so that it goes to the center. Then about right here, let's switch to a top view. Okay, so it's doing a huge movement there. We'll adjust that in just a second. Simplify that. I kind of want it, so right about here, so I actually want it to be above right as those triangles are coming into form. So before that, so I'm going to delete this. It's going to start right about here. Okay, let's try that. I don't love it. I don't love it. Okay, so we're going to start. Let's start at 0 or 1. Let's go in like this. So we're going to delete these and try again. So right about here, we want to be able to see the whole thing. And right about here, we kind of want to see this. I should back out. So I think from this point of view, we kind of want to see a little more. Let's get a wider shot there. I want to get more close up in. I want to see these parts moving. Let's see. So yeah, this is again another part where you get to tweak it until it looks exactly how you want it to look. I kind of want to go, we'll just see. So, interesting. We're going to go to this one. We're going to get that a little more in the middle there. So I kind of want to see if I can get that initial bloom. Yeah, right there. And then let's fill it. Let's do it a little closer there. And then I feel like it should stay in the center the entire time. Kind of do some adjustment keys there. Want it to stay in the center, and that's going to be a little wiggly. Yeah, so we're going to delete that one. this. And this. Okay. Now we're going to go to our curve editor here. Oops. There we go. And we're going to adjust our curves so that they're a little more elegant. So we get some nice smooth. I'm going to delete these keys here in the middle so that it goes evenly toward. No, that's not right. Okay. Okay. I think that's pretty satisfying. Okay, let's just drag that out so that it's a little more yep. Let's get more of that in frame. Get that more in center. What is this? Oh my. Okay. That's kind of interesting. But not that interesting, so we'll bring that back. So yeah, mess with it till you get something you like. Okay, what are you doing? Okay, we're gonna put that right back where it was, because there we go. We're done. Let's export this baby. To export, go to this button, go to unsaved config. I've already got this. This probably won't be here for you. So go to this plus setting button, and then it'll say H.264 MP4. You'll want that turned on. Pick your quality, accept, and then render, and it will put it into this output directory. And as long as your camera is in the correct spot, it'll pull up this render preview. Window. So you'll have to adjust the lighting a little bit to make sure your camera is getting the lighting that you wanted. So you might have to reduce the exposure, but yeah, just tweak the settings till you get what you like, and then export it, and there you go. Alright, you did it. You learned how to set up a level, you learned how to import your assets, you learned about materials, you learned about lighting, animation, camera work, and how to export. And hopefully you've got something that you're proud to show your friends. I've had a lot of fun. I'm glad you made it this far. I'm glad you finished. I hope you made something that you're proud of. And I will see you next time.